It's Reality Check with Craig Price.
I'm an idiot.
4 minutes in and I'm already wrong.
I'm like a monkey. Hello, look at me.
You're like a beautiful mind. I'm more like Forrest Gump. So it's,
Craig Price is the man.
I knew it.
Craig, shut up. Welcome to a bonus episode of Reality Check with Craig Price. I'm your host, Craig Price, and last time around this time of year, our resident film critic Alan Cerny and I broke down Star Wars The Force Awakens. Thanks to the Disney business model regarding Star Wars, it looks like every holiday season there will be a Star Wars movie, and this year, it's Rogue One, the first Star Wars spin-off movie. Now would be a good time to let you know that starting in January, this podcast is going to have its own spin-off. Alan and I are starting a new podcast called Matinee Heroes, where we look at movie heroes from past movies and discuss, analyze, and talk about, in general, what a hero is and what we can learn from them. We'll be dealing with movies from all time periods, but every so often, we'll be able to see a movie screening of a brand new movie, kind of like what happened today, and bring you what we call an instant reaction episode. Today's episode is an instant reaction of Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Alan and I saw an early press screening and immediately recorded the podcast afterwards. So enjoy and listen to Matinee Heroes starting January 14th.
Well, by the music that you just played, we just saw, literally probably about an hour ago, Rogue One. And I want everyone to know right now, we are going to spoil the hell out of it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, stop, go right now. I mean, literally, go right now.
Yeah. Here's the part. You don't stop quite yet. Just say, if you want to know what we think, it's awesome. It's really, really great. Okay, now go.
And what we're doing is we've done this before, but we haven't done this before. We have seen the movie several days in advance. Mm-hmm. This is what we're going to call our instant reaction. It's going to be part of the new spin-off podcast we're going to do called Matinee Heroes. Mm-hmm. Each week we're going to talk about a movie. We're going to get into hardcore about it's going to be a hero-centric movie. It might be a superhero movie. It could be a film noir. It could be a Western. Mm-hmm. But we're going to talk about heroes in a way that, because we need them now more than ever.
Yep.
So that's going to be Matinee Heroes coming out in January. So this is a instant reaction that we're probably going to do more over there than here.
Yeah.
So instant reaction, unbelievable.
Yeah. We're not going to... I don't want to drop any F-bombs or S-bombs or anything because I want everybody in the family to understand how awesome this movie is. So I'm not going to drop anything like that. But
we'll see.
Well, yeah, you never know. You never know with us.
You say that, and then you freak out, and you, oh my God, and beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, really. It'll be more beeps than R2-D2.
Yeah, turn into a Tourette situation.
It's wonderful. This is the Star Wars film I've been waiting to see since I was a kid. I don't know how else to put it. I have to say this up front. I love Star Wars to the point where it's very, very, very difficult for me to be critical of it. I mean, really hard. I mean, even the prequels, I like them. Okay, some of them I do. You know, I mean, look.
No, I like parts of
there are parts of the prequels that are great. Okay,
but overall, But it's like saying I like the cherry on top of the sundae of crap.
Yeah.
So,
well, see here. I mean, like I said, Star Wars is very difficult for me to be critical. I've grown up with this. I always said that like the first film that made me want to talk about movies and be part of movies was Jaws. I saw that in when I was 5 years old. Jaws brought me to the dance.
5?
Yeah, 5.
You got screwed up parents.
No, it was great. I'm glad. Thank God. So I saw Jaws at 5. I like to say Jaws brought me to the dance. But Star Wars took me home after, and that's what Star Wars is to me. It's a really, really big deal in my life. It's very integral. You can ask Craig. Everywhere I go, I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt at the least.
You're doing it on television.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, hey, it's Alan's embarrassing himself with that Star Wars hat, the yellow. It's on national television.
Yeah,
not national. It's it's on the cable station. It's on CBS a lot.
I don't care.
But you're an unabashed fan, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and so
and your enthusiasm sitting next to you was a roller coaster today because I have sitting next to you in a movie that is enjoyable is fun because you're one of the and it was a press screening.
Yeah.
So let's be honest, a lot of them are critics. We didn't see it in a packed theater with fans. We saw it maybe with 20, 30 people.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like because then you don't have to deal with some obnoxious people. But you have the different type of obnoxious where they are very quiet.
Yeah.
And they have to wait until a joke is pretty much explained before they laugh because they're you're not supposed to laugh. And you're like me. When something's funny, you laugh. You get super excited when you see little Easter eggs.
And there are a lot of them in here. We'll get into that. There's so many, but
you had the emotions coming, and I'm sure I could say this and I could actually hear a little boy gleefully sobbing next to me at the very end, wiping tears away.
Yeah. I'm going to put it another way. When I came out of episode 7, and if you want to go to Ain't It Cool and go back, look Nordling, The Force Awakens review, you can read it. It's fairly measured. There are parts in the review where I say, well, there are really great moments in it, but it just can't reach those lofty heights of the original films, right? Although Harrison Ford's great in it, there's a lot of stuff to like in The Force Awakens. I do not feel the same way about this. I came out of this movie like I was a Millennium Falcon hitting hyperspace. This is an unabashedly great movie. Capital G, great. I may regret this later. I've already tweeted about it, so it's no regrets.
And also, being an instant reaction, our opinions may change over time.
Yeah,
this is just how we feel in the adrenaline rush of seeing finally a really good original Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
No rehash of anything.
No.
They had little...
there is, but there isn't.
No,
but
there's homages.
Yeah.
But that's different than a rehash. Because I believe, Episode 7 was a rehash reboot. It was, and it had to be to a certain degree. It was a pre-planned. That was on purpose. It wasn't like they were lazy. They were doing it to get people accustomed to what a Star Wars film is.
Right.
This one, it was very... very emblematic of a war movie.
Yeah, it's a war movie.
Not super original in that.
You got it's a man on a mission movie. It's a heist movie. It's a war movie. If you know who Akira Kurosawa is, and you've ever seen one of his samurai films, that's all there. There's a lot of stuff from a lot of films. Obviously, they pull from, because Star Wars has always been like that, and it pulls from all those different sources to make this movie. And yes, there are Easter eggs galore. Some of them larger than others. Some of them an actual character in the movie.
Several characters that popped up. I mean, some of the way they did it, and we'll talk about that later. But so your initial reaction, what was your expectations going in? Let's talk about
my
that.
expectations for Rogue
first, because we know mine. We talked about it during the
we said this before. I think Rogue One is the most important film to come from Star Wars because this is the one that's going to make everything after happen. I mean, everybody's going to see Episode 7, and everybody did, and you're going to go see Episode 8 and Episode 9. But if you want to watch this franchise and you want to watch this universe explode, you've got to tell stories other than the Skywalker story, and this is the first out of the gate, and it tells the story of the getting of the Death Star plans. And spoiler alert, we all know they succeed, they get the Death Star plans, or Star Wars wouldn't exist, right?
Yeah, but this seems like it's like watching any good.
But let me tell you, exactly, you forget that. You forget all about that when you're watching it because you are so enraptured with the characters and the story. And the score, oh my God, Michael Giacchino's score is so wonderful.
He did a great job of incorporating some of the old elements, but having a complete sections of all brand new.
It's not a slave to any of those old themes. It's got its own themes. So like I said, Force Awakens, I was a measured response. I come to love it later. But right now, this gate, Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars film since Empire, and it's my favorite film of the year.
Oh, man. And you've seen a lot. I haven't seen that many. This was an exceptional... I like the pacing started off a little slow, but not because they were trying to do anything. It just seemed like it was a little herky-jerky, like they didn't know their way.
Well,
but this is only like the first 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it clicks in.
You kind of keep up with it because it's a global, well, not global, it's a universal scale kind of movie, because it's going to different worlds because there are pieces of the story that are falling together.
And that's the first time you see this in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
They have little nameplates of where they are.
Yeah, the nameplates of the worlds that they've traveled to.
Because there's like 6 or 7 they go to in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, they go to a lot of planets, and because there's pieces of stuff that's going on. And, I mean, Star Wars, the first film, is always, the original Star Wars has always felt, even though it's about a global war and a civil war and an empire, it's actually quite intimate, right? Because you're sticking with Luke for most of the time, and his adventures. Rogue One is intimate. It's big. There's big stuff happening. I mean, this is the cusp of the very beginning of the rebellion, and the rebellion isn't sure of itself. They don't know if they're going to win. They really don't. And this little piece of information happens to fall in their hands at a very unexpected time.
And they do what most people do and not believe it's true. And,
Yeah.
And are very, very reticent to talk, because when Felicity Jones, Jin, comes in, she's a criminal. They find ways to discredit her when she brings this information to them.
Yeah.
Which is why she has to go through back channels to get people to go with her.
Yeah, and the thing is, I love her story arc. Felicity Jones plays Jyn Erso, who is the daughter of Galen Erso, played by Mads Mikkelsen, who is the designer of the Death Star. He works with Orson Krenek, who is basically played by Ben Mendelsohn.
Oh,
he's great.
He's a great villain.
And he's a bureaucrat. He's an imperial bureaucrat. He's clawing his way up like any imperial bureaucrat, and
it's all about credit with him.
Unlike Vader, who has the luxury of choking people who are in his way, Krennic doesn't have that luxury. So he's got to be conniving, and he's got to scheme. And this guy Galen Erso invents the ultimate weapon. They've been planning it for years. Not inventing, but they
found he was inventing some energy source.
Yeah,
and they were able to, like they do when anything good happens. They found a way to weaponize it,
because they don't take away from the prequels that that little tiny detail. Those other creatures invented the Death Star, but they say, well, the Death Star plans have stalled. We can't get the thing to have power. How do we do this? So they get Galen Erso, and they basically take him away from his family. They make Galen Erso think everybody's dead or kill his wife. Jen goes into hiding, and the whole point of him is that he goes to the Empire and says, you know what, the only way that they'll believe me is if I commit totally to this project, but I can only surreptitiously plan a trapdoor, basically, a little flaw in the program.
And it only took 40 years, because that's the one joke you always hear, is that, why couldn't they build a cover for that hole?
Yeah.
And they've been saying that for, like, this is so stupid. It's so stupid. If they just put a little, it's 2 meters big, that's stupid. Why would they do that?
Well,
they gave a
really great explanation. A really great explanation on why they do it. I mean, and it's like, yeah, it's a tiny flaw, but who's going to look for that tiny little flaw? And it's like the chances are 1 in 1,000, 1 in 1,000,000. But he has to do it because he wanted to give him that chance. And so when we meet Felicity Jones's character. And we're not going to tell the whole plot, but when we meet Felicity Jones's character, she's kind of an outlaw. She's living on her own.
We meet her. She's in an imperial, heading to an imperial labor camp.
Yeah, and she gets rescued by Diego Luna's character, who's Cassian Andor, who's a really interesting character. I like. The rebellion is not afraid to get dirty.
Yeah, he's definitely a gray character. There's no black and white with him. He is a dirty, dirty gray.
Yeah, and he serves the rebellion. He believes in the rebellion, but he's not afraid to kill somebody if it serves a purpose.
Yep.
And
I
love that. I love that the rebellion isn't all goody-goody, right? And it's a reality, in any kind of government kind of thing or a war, nobody's going to be completely clean. You just can't be.
What I liked is the first time we see him kill somebody, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
They're kind of trapped, and it's an informant. So if he doesn't get rid of this guy somehow, they're all in trouble.
Yeah.
But what I liked is when they get accidentally put into that the rebel attack. Mm-hmm. He's shooting anybody that he needs to, rebels or Imperials, to make sure that his people are safe.
Right.
Because he not only did he shoot, he's shooting stormtroopers, which is what you're supposed to do. You see white, you shoot them.
Yeah.
But there was a rebel guy that was running across the thing, and he looked like he was going to throw a grenade or something, I think.
Yeah.
And he shot him.
Yeah.
Because it was to save Felicity's character.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I like the fact that he looks around, he analyzes the situation, and says, "I don't care who's involved. I'm going to kill the person I need to kill to protect my people."
Right. And he has a character, K2SO. Oh my God, that robot is great. Having comic relief in Star Wars is always tricky, as in Jar Jar Binks we know, right? We laugh at the droids, but it's delicate to make a movie funny, to make Star Wars movies funny. But the thing about the fun of Star Wars is it's not the humor, but everything's happening so fast, it's rapid. It's it's just humor is delicate in Star Wars. It's not an easy thing to do. This guy is hilarious.
Well, it's Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk plays him, and he's basically a reprogrammed Imperial strategic droid who basically says what's on his mind. He has no filter.
That's what I love about him, because he's very dry.
Yeah.
He's not a clown.
Yeah.
He's not saying or doing stupid things.
Right.
He, in fact, is often very sarcastic and very... he'll analyze the situation and tell them how stupid they're being.
Yeah.
Or how wrong they're going to be.
He has no filter at all.
like when they told him to stay at the ship and then they don't.
Yeah.
They leave and he doesn't stay at the ship. He comes and helps them out, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I just killed these people, but I should stay at the ship." I just killed all these people and saved your life, but you're right. I should probably stay at the ship.
He's great.
So I thought he was great, and I actually felt a little twinge with his fate.
Yeah, his fate. I know it's spoiler, but I did
Like I
too.
said, don't hush me when I'm going to spoil this.
Okay, I understand. I still feel that sensitivity.
That's what your review is for. This is not that. This is to get it all out of your system.
That's right.
So when you go talk about it, you won't.
That's right. And then we have Donnie Yen, who plays Shuret Inway, a blind, I'm assuming force sensitive.
Yeah, he's not a Jedi, but he is force sensitive. He desperately wants to be.
He wants to be definitely a part of the force. He's always talking about it, and he's awesome. He kicks ass.
He's like a Jedi ninja, but he's not. He doesn't have a lightsaber. He's got just a staff.
You know, I was halfway thinking that staff that he had at the end, I thought he was going to break it open and it'd be a lightsaber.
Nope.
They didn't do that, which is great. He's awesome, and he has his friend played by Wen Chiang, and his name's Baza Malbus. And
I wasn't too keen on him.
I loved him. He had a great big gun.
Yeah, that's it. I liked his gun. I didn't. He was. I mean, he was there to be like the sidekick.
Yeah.
For Donnie.
Yeah.
Character.
But they're both really great together. And then there's I guess kind of rounding out. Well, there's two more characters we got to talk about. Forrest Whitaker's character Saw Gerrera, who is actually a character in the Clone Wars cartoon.
That's right. They had him younger.
Yeah, and then now he's actually a rebellion for the rebellion, because in the film the rebellion's talking about we can't work with this guy. He is actually too dangerous to work with.
Yeah, because and this is a horrible situation, but it's more of like if the rebellion was Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
He would be the extreme ISIS.
Yeah.
So the rebellion has their thing, and they're willing to do certain things.
Yeah.
But he is much more militaristic, much more lethal.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about diplomacy.
He'll blow up innocent people along with the stormtroopers. It means that they blows up the stormtroopers. He's kind of a little like Cassian, Diego Luna's character that way. Although Diego Luna is more into.
I think he's got a little bit more moral center.
Yeah, moral center than that. And then there's a Imperial pilot. Who decides to defect. He's encouraged to defect by Jyn Erso's father, Galen, who is played by Riz Ahmed, who, if you haven't seen Nightcrawler, he's also in the show The Night Of.
In The Night Of is when I saw him. He was fantastic.
He's great in that, and he's really good in this. He's a character who's really reluctant to get involved at first because he's trying to save his own skin, and then he's encouraged to do so, and he becomes a hero in his own right. It's okay. So the film has got a really big scope to it because it happens on a lot of different locations. There's one particular planet called Jeddah, which is apparently a former Jedi temple world.
Which makes sense by the name.
Yeah, and then the Empire is there because there are pieces of what they call kyber crystals, which kyber crystals, if you're into Star Wars, you know that kyber crystals are used to make the lightsaber swords, and they also
they're a power source.
They're a power source, and that's one of the main power sources of the Death Star. There are other worlds. There's a world called Scarif, which is where the Death Star plans are hidden. And before anybody starts to nitpick, and you're going to nitpick. We haven't gotten to the two characters we're going to talk about in a second. But the idea that the Death Star plans are on a tape somewhere hidden away is actually explained fairly well. Because they are plans, top secret plans that aren't going to be on any Imperial internet, right? They're going to be...
I believe it's called the HoloNet.
Yeah, the HoloNet. Okay, there you go.
As I let my nerd cred hit the table.
Yeah.
Boom.
So, yeah, that's right. So they're not going to be in open forums anywhere explained, so they got them hidden away on a planet. And there's this big tower full of these tapes, these data tapes, and that's one of them. And, you know... It's a shame. I hope you're not one of those people who watches these films and starts picking at it, because you can easily nitpick and you're just gonna ruin it for yourself. You have to go for the ride and the experience. We had critics like that in the showing that we saw today.
But I don't think there's not that much to nitpick about.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we've only seen it once.
Yeah.
We'll definitely see it again.
Oh yeah.
Tonight this is coming out on Thursday. So definitely, and this is Monday, so I just want to rub that in.
Yeah.
We had a
3 days
couple-
ahead of you people.
Yeah, we had a couple extra because it's only 2 days after the premiere.
Right.
But there isn't much that I can see that there is to nitpick, and even the stuff that I was nitpicking about is me.
Yeah.
It has nothing, because a lot of people are going, oh, I didn't see that, and we'll talk about those two characters.
Yeah, let's talk about them right now. First off, there's a major character that returns, and any fan of Star Wars will know that Grand Moff Tarkin, the controller of the Death Star, returns. And first off, so you know, he is a completely CGI. Well, he must have been a stand-in plane for
It's a
him,
motion capture.
but it's a motion capture, but it's
completely
CGI. It's Peter Cushing. It's Peter freaking Cushing.
In fact, they had to put his name in the credits.
Yeah, they had to, I guess they
it looks so. Every time I saw him, I had to. I'm shaking my head. Because
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah, the
so
animation
amazing.
of Peter Cushing is great. Now, it's not perfect.
No.
There are moments where you can see a human being when they're acting and they're eye squinching and stuff. You don't get into that. There's a little tiny bit of the dead eye, right?
Yeah.
But it's not perfect, but it's really, really good. And I love his character in this because I know all about government bureaucracy.
I do too.
And I know how people will scheme and plot to grab any piece of position that they have. And it's hilarious because Ben Mendelsohn's character, Orson Krenek, he is basically in charge of the Death Star building, right? And he wants to be in charge of the Death Star. And it's hilarious because in the movie, he's got the Death Star finished. It's working.
As soon as they do the test.
As soon as they do the test, Grand Moff Tarkin walks up and says, okay, well, thanks for your hard work, and we really appreciate it, even though you made us difficult with all these things. And because of the difficulty that you gave us while we were making this Death Star, I'm taking over. and
It takes all the credit.
it takes all the credit.
And the
it's
only thing this guy
so-
wants is the Ben Mendelsohn's character, or Krennic. The only thing he wants is the Emperor to know that he was in charge of this and that he did a good job.
Yeah, exactly.
Because not only did he have the guts, because I did appreciate this about him, even though he's a conniving weasel,
Yeah.
he had the guts to defend himself against Tarkin.
Yeah, he did.
But he also had the guts to kind of make sure to weasel his way in with Vader.
There's an interesting subplot here where Krennic is trying to get in good graces. If he can get the Emperor to realize that, hey, I did this. This is me, and maybe the Emperor will give him some sort of promotion or something, or make him promote to the Death Star. It's everybody's kind of back deal, right? And so he goes to Vader's home planet. I guess it's Mustafar, right?
It was definitely Mustafar. They didn't mention it, but it was definitely Mustafar because of all the lava and the rivers of it. And then I saw you freak out when I had the...
Because it's Vader's castle.
That's right.
You see Vader's castle.
where did you
They've
see
talked
Vader's
about that forever. If you ever read a lot of making stuff.
See, I
you
have not.
write the making of Star Wars books. They talk about there's supposed to be a sequence on Vader's castle at one point in Return of the Jedi. And so when I finally see it, I'm going, oh my God! See, that's so many callbacks in this movie, but not callbacks. But anybody who's just steeped in Star Wars lore, I'm pretty steeped in it. To see that on screen was amazing. That's why I freaked out.
I know, because I know something was going on.
Yeah, and
because most of the time you were freaking out. In my head, I was going, "Oh, hey, look at that!" Because I know a lot of Star Wars stuff too. I mean, but when that one came up, I was like, "What is he all excited about?" I mean, that looks cool.
Because it's Vader's castle. They've talked
Right.
about it for a long time.
But it was definitely on Mustafar.
Yeah.
The lava planet where he burns himself, which to me, that's pretty crazy. If I had a horrible experience like that, I think I'd go to some place that it was like had ice.
Yeah,
It was like the opposite.
well,
I'd go to Hoth and go,
This is Vader, though. Vader is the kind of guy who's like, oh, you may got me once, but you'll never get me again.
I love the little quick little, just the little juxtaposition of Skywalker and him both in the back to tanks.
Yeah.
It was just a little. They both had almost the exact same posture.
Yeah.
And then we see that it's as it starts to drain.
Yeah.
That we see just the disfigured forehead.
Yeah.
Because we didn't see the whole thing, but we knew it was Vader. But for a second, when you just see it's exact same positioning and the same image in
That's
Empire
exactly
Strikes Back.
that's right. That's
I
right.
love that what Gareth Edwards, the director, he took these little things and didn't beat you over the head with them a lot. Some of them
are more obvious than others, but some of them aren't. Gold Leader. They Gold Leader when he said that voice, Gold Leader. I mean, anybody who's seen the first Star Wars will remember it, but people who've watched it a billion times will definitely remember it. It's like they got a Gold Leader from the original Star Wars.
But it wasn't just the voice; it was clips from Star Wars.
Yeah, it
from
was
from that last battle. They took him and some. I can't remember the other. I think it was Red One.
Yeah, or
it was another guy.
Yeah,
it was two guys. And it was
Uh-huh.
and if like I said, if you've seen Star Wars a million times, the moment you see them and hear the voice, it's exactly from Star Wars because they were there at both battles.
Yep.
I was hoping to see maybe a Wedge Antilles.
I was hoping for Wedge. I was hoping for Biggs, but I remember that Wedge.
I think there was a Biggs. There was a guy that looked like Biggs.
Oh.
There was a guy that had the mustache and the dark hair, and They didn't.
I'm kind of glad they didn't say Biggs.
No,
Or they,
I don't know
that would
his
have
call
been
sign.
too much. That would have crossed the line.
I can't remember his call sign, so I didn't.
Yeah.
There was a guy that looked like Biggs.
And I mean, it's horrible, but Red 5 is Luke's call sign in Star Wars, and there's a Red 5 in this movie.
And he was.
And
a
there's
fat
a
guy.
reason Luke's call sign in Star Wars is Red 5 now.
Yeah. And it's always the fat guy that blows up. They had a little pudgy guy that blew up again. But what I liked is they had this Helen Mirren looking lady. She was a pilot.
Yeah.
She was clearly a 50 to 60-year-old lady.
Yeah.
Piloting one of these ships.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's in a rebellion. You just grab anybody that's willing to fight.
Exactly.
Which is awesome.
Now, we had a complaint from a fellow critic talking about Vader. Why was Vader even in this movie? Well, I'll give you a few reasons. The first reason is because he's Darth freaking Vader, and you can put him. He can go anywhere he wants. You put him in a movie. If you're dealing with this particular time period before before Star Wars, right before, you're gonna have Vader in it. And what I loved about Vader in this, when we first see him, because I don't know even if you're a Star Wars freak like I am, you'll know the helmet in Star Wars and the helmet in Empire are different. Okay, he's wearing the Star Wars helmet this time, and well, there's a couple of shots that it looks like he's wearing the Empire helmet, maybe when he's fighting on the.
Well, I was reading an article about it, and they definitely buffed it up because because the excuse that they gave, not the excuse, the reason they gave is that there's battle wear and then there's formal wear. So
Yeah.
Empire, there's a lot more because it was much more polished. So
Yeah.
a lot more formal because he's talking to the Emperor. He's going to look nice.
Yeah.
and he's kind of in charge. He's not really battling except that when he goes to Cloud City, and even then he was there to start with negotiations.
Yeah.
So he wasn't, but apparently in Star Wars, they didn't have the ability to polish it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you could even see it's awesome because you could even see
Through the glass. In his
through the
eyes.
glass. Yeah, because I remember there's in Star Wars when you can see through the glass, you can see it through his eyes. But maybe he doesn't have to be there in a strict plot sense, but it's Star Wars. You're gonna have Vader in it. Vader is very important. Okay, yeah, this is a story that involves him. He's a part of it. He could be involved.
And there's other cameos you have to have because if you have a Star Wars movie, there's only 2 characters who've been in every Star Wars movie,
Yeah.
and they're in this one.
Yep.
So I'll let you figure out that.
Yeah.
But and that kind of makes sense to some, especially what they said.
Yeah.
There's that one cameo at the very end.
Uh-huh.
We talked about Tarkin being a completely CGI character.
This cameo probably looked more CGI than Tarkin because one thing, this was like in the complete light of it's the lighting too. Because she's in that really bright. Well, it is. It's Leia. Okay. So she's in that really brightly lit room, and it's sort of CGI, but she gets the last word of the movie, and it's and
And it ties perfectly with the title of of Episode 4.
Yeah, it does. It does.
They did a really good job of tying it all together. There wasn't too many plot holes.
There's plot holes in all of them.
Yeah, there's not too many, but
the whole thing that we got to do the master switch and Riz Ahmed doing all that exposition and trying to explain what they needed to turn off. I felt bad for him in that moment because it's like about 25, 30 seconds of exposition and saying, well, we got to do this.
At least it wasn't bad, stupid, weird, like terminology.
Yeah, we got to plug this into this and this, and you got to hit the master switch over there.
He said master switch in
everybody understands what that.
Planetary
the
shield.
big red button, It
wasn't even a button.
It was literally a switch.
And that's why when Cheroot I don't know if that's that. It's Donnie
Yen Cheroot. Yeah.
When he does that walk to it, it's like, boom! He's got. They had to have something that he could grab a hold of because he's blind.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great jokes in it. There's a lot of great humor in it, but there's also a lot of emotion in it. I was surprised that they give you enough time. Each person gets their own little thing. So and not like in Avengers where they have to have their own little thing. It's story related.
Yeah, well, I'm a very huge fan of Akira Kurosawa films. The samurai movies in particular are great, and the thing about those movies, if you ever seen them, nobody comes away clean, if at all. It's everybody has an emotional arc, everybody has an emotional moment, but I was swept up in how emotional I got. I cried several times in this movie. I'm an easy crier in a movie, so that doesn't tell you anything. But I cried a lot, and at the end of this, I was racking sobs. I'm not kidding because
I thought you just had an allergy attack.
No, it was bad.
I was smiling ear to ear. It was like I said, it was a really fun movie, but it also had some gravitas to it. So it wasn't super fun because it was life and death, but there was still action. There was unbelievable scenery, just the scenery. They would always show it on a planetary scale.
Yeah,
because I don't think we ever really understood how big the Death Star was.
Yeah.
But the way he shot it, every
well,
time you saw it, it was massive.
It's massive. You could feel the. I mean, it reminded me a lot of the space sequences in this film. Oddly enough, even though they're very fast paced and lots of action is going on, lots of eye stuff is going on, they really reminded me of Kubrick's 2001, where everything has this sense of scale and a weight and a majestic nature to them. Everything is majestic and beautiful, and the Death Star is terrifying in this movie. It's terrifying.
But it's also massive because think about it in Star Wars. Mm-hmm. All we ever saw was at a distance. There was nothing ever up against it for scale except for the TIE fighter, the X-Wings and the TIE fighters, and they were too close to get a real sense of what was going on. Mm-hmm. And even when it blew up, it was, you don't get a sense. There's always a planet next to it. There's Star Destroyers. There's always something next to it to show off how massive it is. And I don't think we ever got that in the movies. I think we were told it and we believed it, but we were actually able to show how big it was this time.
I bet those hallways smell just like new car.
You think?
It's so beautiful and glossy.
and they had to be. I mean, it's probably still has some blue tapes everywhere. There was probably maybe some. They were still sweeping up in certain places, like last day getting that construction drywall taken care of, making sure the Dianoga was in place.
Right,
it's
right.
Like, oh, hey, because I bet that serves a purpose. I have a feeling that.
Well, somebody's got to eat the organic trash. It's going to go bad, and they'll be sick.
That's what I think. I don't think that was like a rat. I think they're placed in there. That's why every single trash compactor I've ever seen had one.
Yep. It's got to eat the organic trash, because they can't eat the metal stuff. The metal stuff gets crushed, and the Dianoga eats all of the food stuffs, and then maybe it just got in there. Who knows?
And I was hoping. See, well, the only thing I didn't. It was fine. I didn't like though was that they used the Death Star at the end. I was hoping. This is how I would have, because the same ending would have happened, but that Death Star. I mean, not the Death Star. When that Star Destroyer broke through the shield, if had that continued right into the city, that would have been you would have got the same result. Maybe not as big as an explosion, but I think pretty big, because that's they talk about asteroids. That's a pretty big deal, and then you could still save that, because I'm thinking grand scheme of thing. You could still save the Death Star for A New Hope.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I really liked, I loved. Okay, so there's a sequence on Jeddah where Jeddah City gets destroyed by the Death Star because they don't shoot the laser at full capacity. They want to see what it can do to a planet. It's a test. And so the city explodes. And Krenek is so excited. He wants the whole world to know about it. But Tarkin doesn't let them know because he wants to take the claim and the credit for himself. It's all that part of that imperial bureaucracy.
And also it just makes good tactical sense. Because if you haven't decided where you're going to use it yet, you don't want to give away what you can do until you blow up Alderaan.
Right. And great, we'll get to see Bail Organa. We get to see Jimmy Smits again playing him. And there's a little tag. I love that line where he says, "Your friend, the Jedi. You think you can get a hold of him? Oh yes, and he'll be there. He'll be a part of this." And we've got to see an Obi-Wan movie. I'm dying to see that.
I hope I would hope it's a Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan, because he'll be old enough. I mean. That's the good thing about having him at his age, is that you just keep going. He can jump into that anytime he wants between now and the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And he'd still be right before he gets to be Alec Guinness's age, and he can just, ready to go. And from what I hear,
he's eager to do it.
He's eager to do it if it's a good one. And I think after The Force Awakens, then you see this. I have now, after seeing this movie, my expectations for the Han Solo movie have gone off the charts.
Off the chart.
When they've got Don Glover as Lando Calrissian.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen what this kid that they
Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah, I've not seen him. He was
Ehrenreich. I can never say his name. It's horrible.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in anything. I know he was in Hail Caesar.
Yeah. But he's really good in Hail Caesar. It's one movie.
Yeah, but I haven't seen him in anything else.
He has this kind of swagger about him that, I'm more confident because they've got the directors of the Lego movie to make the second Star Wars film.
Well, if Chris Pratt can go from Andy to Star-Lord, I've now anybody who's pudgy or is from one genre to another, I'll give him a shot.
I think that they're going to do a good job with that. But I want to say call out to Michael Giacchino's score, which was phenomenal.
And you heard a little bit of it when we started.
Yeah. The score is better. And I hate to say this. I don't want to break any hearts, but his score for Rogue One is better than John Williams' score was for Episode 7.
Yeah, because I think John Williams really only had I mean, he's really good. The thing about John Williams is he's really good at motif, which means he can bring in all these pieces into a part. And so now Leia's theme and Luke's theme is in the same piece of music at the right time in the story, and it doesn't sound original, but it's because it's familiarity. We have these two pieces that we sound. His Rey theme was great. I really like that, but everything else it's really more. I don't want to say technical because he's a master at blending existing themes into a new theme.
Right.
But this sounded like all original music with like a sprinkle of nutmeg on an eggnog latte.
Yeah,
it's holiday
when
time.
they do play the Star Wars themes, and when you do hear the original music, it's very little, but it's perfectly timed for that moment because those are weapons in an arsenal. It's like I want them to feel this, so Vader shows up and we hear Vader's theme. I want them to feel the scope of what they're watching, so we hear a taste of the Force theme. And then of course at the end, dun, 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 we get out that.
So how was the fact that there is no opening crawl and there isn't that big? I
like that it set a different sort of tone. I did not expect the jump cut right into it. Right.
Oh, literally, there's no music, and boom, and normally it would.
You get a long time ago in the galaxy far, far away, and then that sits there, and you're waiting for the Star Wars to come, and then it goes boom,
or music.
Music or anything. It goes boom right into the. Well, there is a little music goes, but it goes right into the story, and then when we get the opening title, we don't even get it until like 10 minutes later, right?
Yeah, and it's all flashback, which is the first time.
Yeah.
We've never had a full on flashback, or at least a jump cut where it's like you start the movie and then they do the title card, and then we go up to 20 years or 15 years or whatever it was.
Yeah. I like that a lot about it. Well, it's definitely its own thing, and I think that it's important that filmmakers get to explore and make their own thing. They're not stuck. If you're making one of the episodes and you're making the Skywalker story, I do think it's important because it's a larger chapter of a book, and you shouldn't really mess with that too much. But you're making these one-offs, or not necessarily. Well, this is obviously a one-off. Everybody dies, but
spoiler.
Yeah,
that's the first time. Yes.
Yeah,
and they all die in appropriate
really
ways,
satisfyingly emotional ways. Yeah.
Even I think and for me, the robot was the one that really did me in.
Yeah.
Because I kind of knew. And maybe this is my cultural ignorance, but when I see two Asian guys in a movie, and it's a war movie, they're going to die in some dramatic fashion.
Well, I knew everybody was going to die. I didn't. Well, honestly, I didn't expect Jyn Erso to die. I thought there's some way she's going to get out of it, and maybe we'd see her again. But seeing her and Cassian on the beach as the fire consumes them, I thought that was appropriate.
It was great.
Yeah, and
but I really the way K2 sacrificed himself was like taking shots and really taking a lot of damage while he's trying to save them and he's giving them instructions and helping them out, especially after all he's been through with that, because he's such a sarcastic. And oftentimes he's like indifferent to people dying.
Yeah,
he's like one time they were like, well, if they don't come back, we're leaving without them.
Yeah,
if they don't come back when
Cassian comes back,
we're leaving.
We're gone. Yeah.
He's like, she handed him his stuff to hold on. He just drops it on the ground. Like in his head, he's going, I don't haul stuff. I'm a strategic droid.
I'm a strategic droid. I don't hold.
But he's not afraid of. He's my favorite character in this whole movie because he's not afraid to fight.
Yeah.
Because you don't get robots that get to fight. He gets to fight. He caught that grenade. He's like, and then.
He's a really great character. My favorite character is probably Donnie Yen's because I wasn't prepared for how funny he was going to be.
Yeah, he was my second favorite.
Yeah.
Those are my two favorites
because he's like, he's so funny, but he's so spiritual and is emotional. I really loved him a lot. I love Jyn Erso. I love Felicity Jones a whole lot.
Oh, she was really good because it wasn't. She again, like Rey, she's not a cliche.
No, she's not.
You could have easily made this a Jan or a Jason.
Yeah,
and the same thing applied. There was no feminine qualities to her or masculine qualities to her that made her go, "Oh, that's a woman, that's a man." It was just she's a character. She can do this and do that. So there wasn't. You literally could have swapped genders.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't have been a bad thing or a good thing. I think the fact that they made it a female is great because I think we need more.
Felicity Jones was a very strong actress. She carries a lot of the movie. Her emotional range in this film was very moving to me personally, especially the stuff with her father. And I like. She beginning the movie, she could give a shit. Give a crap. Too late. We got to edit that.
No, 37 minutes in, and All right, that's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
It's a one S word. That's okay. Sorry. She doesn't.
If you're still listening after this,
Yeah.
then, I'm not even gonna. Apple can suck it.
But her arc is so really real. I mean, she has no interest in being a part of the rebellion, but her dad and seeing everything that she saw, and you could feel that moment when she turns, right? And she says, "You know what? This is bigger than me. I need to be a part of this. It's not just because of my father. It's because these people have taken things away from everyone, right?"
Yeah, and it's not like she's got daddy issues.
Yeah.
I mean, she loses her father, so it wasn't like he abandoned her. He knows that. That's why she's mad at the other guy.
Yeah.
Because he did abandon her.
Yeah.
But her father actually, this is the plan we've had in place. The bad guys are here. You and your mom go. That's the plan.
Yeah.
And if I die, I die. But this is a plan. So they knew what's going on.
Yeah.
So she didn't have that abandonment issues with her father. So she still really loved him.
Mm-hmm.
And the only problem is she can't quite comprehend the fact that he's such this great guy, and now he's working for the Empire.
Yeah.
So she did feel a little betrayed until it's
I
explained.
love that. I love that whole. Look, the only way they can believe me is if I commit to them, and that and that's true. This is a vast government, full of force-sensitive people who could tell when you're lying. So yeah, exactly. The only way you could do it is to commit to them and to fool yourself, basically, in thinking, well, if I build this flaw, but maybe the flaw has a purpose in its way. Maybe an exhaust port really is an exhaust port that needs to be there. It's just it's also where you can shoot a missile and blow the building up.
Yeah, and Mads was great. I felt he was underused because he's such. I
agree.
Being
actually.
a Hannibal fan, and also what was that Viking movie he did?
That's a Nicholas Winding Refn movie.
That was
Valhalla
fantastic.
Rising. Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, no, I loved.
He's good, and I liked it because he's not intimidating or mean.
He's a genuinely good character, a genuinely good guy, and we don't. I mean, Mads Mikkelsen can play anything, but to see him as a really good character, a good-hearted soul, even though he's working with the villains.
But he's doing it for a reason.
He's doing it for a reason, and to see him in this performance was great. What else do we have to talk about?
I don't know. Any last impressions you want to?
When the endorphins kind of come from the tidal ocean wave of endorphins that are going
I was
through my
going to
brain
say
right
in this
now, when they
particular
come
episode,
down.
when this episode, I wouldn't put this on twice the speed because we've already got that taken care of.
Yeah,
because the talking fast today.
When the endorphins calm down and I have a more measured response to the movie, I don't know. I mean, all I can tell you as a film critic, how much stock you want to hold into this, is that when I got out of The Force Awakens, I did not feel like this. I felt like I'd seen a pretty good movie. I felt disappointed a little ways because it's Star Wars and I've been building it up for 20, 30 years. And maybe that's why this one was so good, because now that we're going to get Star Wars every year now, maybe I can let that go. But I don't think so. I think The Force Awakens is a very enjoyable, very flawed film. I'll still happily own it. I'll happily watch it because I really love Harrison Ford's performance in that movie. This one's on another level entirely. I'm already a record. This is my favorite film of the year. I mean, best film of the year. It's the best Star Wars film I've seen since Empire. And they have a huge hill to climb now.
The bar has been set way high.
It's really high.
I don't know if that's a good or bad. I think it's good, obviously, but your buddy Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson is directing Episode 8. It was a really nice feeling to see him at Budnumathon this year, and he walk up to me and give me a big bear hug, which was really sweet. The fact that I don't want to.
Go ahead. You can brag.
I'm bragging. It's a humble brag.
Hey, it's for me. It's 2 degrees. Yeah. I'm 2 degreee away from the director of Episode 8.
It was. I mean,
he's not going to hug me on the street.
To be a part of that, and have the crowd's voices in Episode 8 will be pretty cool. Hopefully, it's really.
Oh
good
no,
moment.
He just said that.
Yeah,
he just did that. Now,
because what's funny watching him direct the crowd, where he is, and I got this little glimpse of him as a director, where he's like, "Okay, everybody, now, stop, now," and it's like it wasn't intimidating. Stop. I mean, he was. It's like he was in control. Okay, this is the crowd. This is how they talk. No, stop. No, this. It was like. Wow. Yeah, that was really cool.
When you actually see people do their craft, because I remember being on the set of Jumanji, and they were doing blocking, and they had the stuntman, and he went through the motions, and then they had Robin come out and do it. And the difference was, even if it was just blocking, even then he was still doing just, sometimes they did a close-up, sometimes far away, but the difference in energy and ability and excitement was just, you could tell this is what a person who was a craftsman Robin versus a person who was told to stand there right now, and his job is to get hit and not get killed and he knows how to get hurt without getting hurt.
Right.
It was night and day. And when I saw Sidney Pollack direct a little bit of Random Hearts in my neighborhood, just standing over his shoulder, just watching him do things, and it's a totally different experience.
Yeah.
For the people who go on sets and say it's boring, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I could see how it could be, especially if you're just like on a day pass and it's just like you're a tourist.
Right.
But every set I've ever been on, no matter how boring whatever they were shooting was, has always been exciting, and it's always been fun to see real people who have a specific talent do their talent.
Yeah, when you're making a movie, it is literally, how do you eat an elephant? Bite it one at a time. And every moment is the moment, and you have to orchestrate that moment. You may have a long-reaching arc in mind, but you can't think of that when you're actually filming that scene. You're thinking, I have to get this scene from beginning to end, the place where I want it to be, and I will not stop until it's there. And then that puzzle piece goes right down there. Next puzzle piece. Make it as much as I can in this moment right there, and I will connect this puzzle piece to that piece.
Or they won't even connect it yet.
Yeah.
They're just kind of separating. This is the blues. Here's the sand. All the sand in one place.
Here's the corners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's white, so that's going to be a building.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to separate all those out now, and then in the editing room,
you put it together.
You put it all together, and sometimes you don't have certain pieces, and you just got to kind of, I'll just take this square and cut it and wedge it in, and then paint it and make it look nice.
I guess this is a good segue to talk about how much the reshoots happened on episode or Rogue One, and if there was, I didn't notice. I know there was, but
no, extensive. That's what I want.
The tone of the film was very consistent. I didn't feel like something was changed one moment to the next.
I think I noticed the differences because, from what I understand, the original shooting was all very documentary style. So it was a lot of shaky cam. Because there were certain segments that I could tell that I'm like, oh, my wife's not going to like this because this is Hurt Locker shaky.
I didn't get that.
There were certain little parts of it, especially during a lot of the battle sequences. But then there were other parts where it wasn't nearly as obvious, and I think that might have been a blending where it was like, this is too much of a this is too much documentary war style.
Yeah,
we need to pull this back out to where it's not as
because
war.
The scale of Star Wars has always been part of the charm of it, I'm not one of those people because I'm not a filmmaker, so I'm not going to nitpick any reshoots or what they didn't. I am judging the end product. I don't care what the reshoots do or not, and the end product works absolutely from beginning to end. No hesitation.
Well, think about it. Disney owns Marvel. And Marvel and now they own Star Wars, and Marvel on purpose schedules in their budget reshoots.
Yeah, everybody does it. But
I think Marvel does, like, their budget and their schedule is larger. They're expecting to do a lot of reshoots because they want to get the core, and then they're going to make it funnier or they're going to make it.
They got to,
but they give them room.
Yeah, and this movie in particular had the reshoots talked about more than I remember other reshoots, but everybody gets them. Everybody's murmuring under the scenes,
Not
right?
everybody gets to break Harrison Ford's leg and redo the script.
Yeah.
They did a lot of extensive.
Yeah. There's all sorts of murmuring under the scenes of what didn't work and what works, how well the director worked with the producers and everything, and not. I don't really care about that. If the end product is working, great. You can nitpick, or you can break down a bad movie easily. When a movie is working, I don't want to get under the hood and look. If my car gets me from point A to point B in a very good way and in a nice way, relaxing way, I don't need to know what makes the engine go. I just don't. That's just the way my philosophy. And that's my philosophy when it comes to movies like this, where it's so good. I don't care how they made it. This is a movie that I don't know if I want to watch the making of or anything, because I just, the experience of it and the ride and the joy and the feelings it gave me, and I was laughing and crying and cheering, and it's just what Star Wars is supposed to do. That's why I go to the movies. It's why I'm a movie critic, enthusiast, advocate, whatever. Star Wars took me home after the dance, and I married it. It's.
Does Tammy know about this?
I love Star Wars so much, and I'm in such a great Star Wars high right now. I can't even tell you.
Well, I think that's a perfect way to end this. A quick reminder that starting in January, and I'll give you guys some heads up, we are doing a spin-off podcast that will be weekly.
Yep.
Called Matinee Heroes. Well, more information on that later. But I just want to put that little seed in the back of your head. We're going to be talking about more movies, because when you come on, Alan, it's one of the highest rated and downloaded shows.
Oh, thank you.
And I get more comments from folks, even though they may not be on any website. I'll get little emails or Facebook things that's saying, "Oh, last one with
that's
Alan."
really cool. Thank you.
So I'm looking forward to because 2016 was pretty good.
Pretty good
movie wise.
movie-wise.
No. Emotionally and the real life wise, it was a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping 2017, especially with this exciting new podcast.
I'm so excited for the Matinee Heroes. I want to talk about it just a teeny bit. So this is a podcast that we're talking about heroes and hero cinema and basically matinee movies of why we go to movies. And we want to not only share those experiences of why we love these movies. Escapist entertainment isn't necessarily escapist anymore. It's something we require in our daily lives. We all need that escapism. And I want to explore that. And Matinee Heroes is going to be the great podcast that we do to explore that.
We're hoping to get some really good guests.
Yep.
Not just fellow critics and authors, and hopefully get some famous folks.
Our ambitions are huge on this.
Yep. We're and of course, just to let you know, I'm still going to be in Dallas for the Nerd Year's Eve. But if you're in the Salt Lake area, I am going to be doing not only the Salt Lake Fan X in March. I'm going to be hosting panels at the Big, and they had like 10,000 people for Mark Hamill last year.
Wow.
This is a big con, the Salt Lake City Comic Con, and hopefully with Matinee Heroes, we'll be able to get you guys some insight.
That would be great.
From the creators
I'm
themselves.
so happy you got the convention bug. I mean, I know you've done this stuff before, but
I bet we've had it for a while. It's
Yeah,
just that
but now
I have
now
the
the
bug, but the conventions won't talk to me. Now I'm getting some credibility, so it's really helpful. And I know that we're hoping to bring the podcast to not only some Comic Cons and Comic Palooza, but
one of the things we would love
fests.
to have a live screening of a movie that we're going to discuss, and then have a little Q&A afterwards, and a podcast where everybody can be involved. That's kind of the ideas I've got going with this thing.
I'm hoping to bring it to some film festivals, like when they have Doug Loves Movies.
Yep.
We'd be on there as well.
That would be great.
We've got some long-term stuff we want to do, but the key thing is we want to make it something that we like and that you like.
Right.
Because we are just like you, and Alan is the most down-to-earth critic that I've met. He's just a geek that they threw into a review job and does a really good job at it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
We meet some of the critics, and they're nice folks, but they're not.
I try not to be jaded in the way I look at movies, and I try to. I remember. I mean, I have a direct line back to my childhood, seeing in a movie, and just have that laser beam hit me right in that pleasure center, and that never has left me, and I don't want it to ever leave me. The day it does, I'm going to stop this. But right now, it hasn't. It won't in the foreseeable future, and Matinee Heroes is going to be awesome, and I'm really excited to do it with you, Craig.
Well, it's going to be great. Go to see this movie right now. Hopefully, I'm going to see it tonight for the second time.
Yeah, second time.
There's going to be third and fourth. I'm sure Christmas is coming.
That whole weekend.
I may have some free time in Dallas. I'm not sure how close a theater is, but it was fantastic. Sitting next to you is quite an experience because, like I said, you're very vocal. You're not shy, which is good. It's fun. I like seeing movies with a full house. There wasn't a full house, but there was enough of you there to fill it up.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
That's the bonus episode for you. Have a very happy holiday, and may the Force be with you.